Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mr. Butson's Super Fancy World History Final Review. I'm your host, Mr. Butson, and today we are going to be going over, you guessed it, the final review. And let me tell you, this presentation is fancy. All right. So, well, let's get right into it. Obviously, your review sheet is broken down into the various units, obviously, with combining the religious units here. Keep in mind, there's really only one polytheistic religion question on your final religions of the East. And we have the rest are from the monotheistic religions of the Middle East. To start off here, Abraham. Abraham is important because he is the first person to make the covenant with God. He's the patriarch, the founding father, so to speak, of the three religions. He's the first to make the covenant with God. He's specifically important in Judaism, but he's also an important figure in all the other religions, as we're going to talk about a little bit later. Okay. Um, the next thing on here is Christianity and what the core belief is. Keep in mind that the core belief, like, what does it mean to be a Christian? Well, obviously, you believe in Jesus and you believe that Jesus is the Messiah, right? Pretty simple. That's what it is. Okay. The Kaaba. The Kaaba is most closely associated with, obviously, it's Islam. The significance of it is the focal point or the center of the faith. It is believed to be the one true temple built by that founding patriarch Abraham. And of course, it is located in the city of Mecca in modern day Saudi Arabia. And speaking of Mecca, the importance of that location. Well, one, this is an all the following except question. So, one, it is the home of the Kaaba, right? It is the destination of the Hajj, right, which is one of our five pillars of Islam. And of course, it is the birthplace of Muhammad. Okay, well, speaking of Muhammad, what is significant about him? Well, in Islam, he is the prophet. He is the seal of the prophets, right? There have been prophets before him who have received revelations of God, but Muhammad, in accordance with the faith, has received the full and complete revelation of God. There will be none after him, hence the seal, right? And of course, Silk Road, which religion spreads via the Silk Road, and where did it go? Well, it's Buddhism. Where did it go? China, across up to China, across into Japan, and even down into Southeast Asia. Let's move on to our next unit here, the Middle Ages. So first off, Black Death. There are going to be a couple Black Death questions. Okay, know in detail, how it was exchanged, where it went, some of the impacts that it had, how it spread, where it started, stuff like that. Okay, obviously where it started in China. It moved, across, through trade routes. It first came and arrived into Europe. Well, the real Black Death, the plague, not Justinian's plague, but the first, the Black Death actually started in Italy first. Okay, and in sort of like know obviously some of the general statistics about it and whatnot, but sort of like how it impacted peasants in the long run, and really it's oddly enough is sort of a positive way. I mean, once you get past the 25 to 50% of Europeans who died of it, later on down the road, those who kind of lived, well, they benefited because there was nobody to work. So in a sense, supply and demand, and the labor is in demand. Well, guess what? You can demand the wage and a little bit better life for yourself. So in a sense, it did improve the lives of peasants who survived, right? Feudalism. What about feudalism? Feudalism is the political structure of the Middle Ages, the political system of the early Middle Ages. You should know how this system works. So, in a sense, what is the exchange that occurs, right, between lord and vassal, right, or between overlord and lord, right? So there's exchange of land for loyalty, right? I, the king, give you the noble land, right? You will rule that land how you want to rule it. In return, you promise to pay me taxes, serve in my military, and essentially you promise to be loyal to me in my rule as king. Um, this system came to end for a number of reasons. Okay, one of which was the Black Plague, right? Another which was things like the end of the manor economy, right? The manor economy was no longer needed. We see the rise of more modern capitalist economies like the mercantile economy. We see the growth and the expansion of cities and trade routes and roads. We see the age of exploration. But on top of that, we also have private militaries, right? The kings no longer need the lords to rule their land. They no longer need them to protect that land because kings can now afford to pay for their own private militaries. Okay. That leads to the next part about feudalism, and that's fief. Okay. Fief is essentially the land that is given to a lord in a feudal system, right? It's a parcel of land. That fief is your land to rule, control, and you rule and control the peasants that are on that land. Your job is to protect them, to live a good life, to that's your little piece of power, right? Because land equals power. And that goes to our next question, right? The importance of land. The Middle Ages were all about land economy, right? The more land you had, the more powerful and more wealthy you were, right? Plain and simple, that's what it is. Okay. Manorialism, also known as the manor economy, was the economic system of the Middle Ages, really at least the early Middle Ages. This system, of course, was based on a closed network economy, where essentially it was based in surrounding the fief. The peasants would work for the lord, and they would work the land, and in return, the lord would protect and lead the peasants. Okay, this helped create a stabilizing factor in Europe. Okay, a pretty dangerous time. This provided a little bit of stability, although people lived, as serfs and sometimes as slaves and sometimes under oppressive rule. But at least they lived and didn't get murdered by, raiders and uh, Vikings and other warring factions. A monarchy, basically, know what a monarchy is, what kind of government it is, and know that it's essentially like the government of the Middle Ages, the most common government of the Middle Ages. Um, and finally, social structure. Obviously at the top you have your monarchs, and then you have your nobles and your church leaders and your knights and things like that. But the bulk of your society, vast majority of your society, 90% of your society is going to be peasants, right? These peasants who work the land, they're farmers, right? Very, very few at this time are merchants, right? Or artisans. This is a time period where everyone was farming and working, right? This is part of that manor economy. This is part of that system that is the Middle Ages. Of course, in time, as the Middle Ages progress, their lot in life will improve. It's minor, just a little tiny bit. All right. So, age of exploration. There's only one question on here that's going to be from your pre-Columbian period, and that's Mayan adaptations of the environment. I will give you one of them. The other one you can kind of look up on your own, but one of them is slash and burn farming, right? Poor soil, limestone ground, tropical climate. You have to sort of find a way to replenish your soil. You don't have large beasts of burden either to use their manure to help with nutrients for the soil. So the only way to do it is slash and burn, right? You burn it down, you allow those nitrates to help fuel, your next round of crops. Um, the Columbian Exchange obviously is one of the major topics that we had from our unit. This major exchange occurred between the Old World and the New World. You should really know what was exchanged on both ends. What were the major things that went to the New World, and what were the major things that went to the Old World? How it impacted the Old World, right? These inclusion of new crops, right, really helped the population grow. Better food, better diets, bigger populations. Well, then, what was the biggest impact on the New World? Yes, horses, cows, plants, cash crops were big for the New World. But the biggest thing, the most impactful thing of the Columbian Exchange was disease, right? When you talk about 90% of a population of the New World died because of disease, that's pretty staggering and pretty powerful. Okay. Mercantilism was the economic system of the age of exploration. Remember, this is a national economy, a closed network national economy, where the mother country would use the colonies to import goods that it could not get. Colonies, the goods that went to the colonies all had to be filtered to the mother country. Goods were very heavily tariffed. They were tariffed to prevent trading with other countries. Okay, and remember, those goods had to flow through the mother country. So if you wanted tea, and in the 13 colonies, that tea had to go from China to England to the 13 colonies where it was taxed numerous times. And obviously, who benefits the most? Well, it's the monarchy. It's the king and queen. They're the ones who are taking that tariff money, those taxes, and padding their coffers. Right? They use that money to have their own militaries, to build that absolute power, to consolidate, and so again also helps break away from that feudal system and create more of a more powerful absolute system. Triangle trade's pretty simple, right? Three legs, know the three legs, specifically know what goods were exchanged on them, where they went, but specifically the middle passage, right? The middle passage, the transatlantic slave route, that's the important one to kind of know. All right, next unit here, obviously, is Enlightenment and absolutism, but there are no absolutism questions on it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to point out the three things I have highlighted on here. I'm just going to zoom this out for a second. But the three things I have highlighted on here: ideal form of government, on bad government, and representation in government. Okay. Again, ideal government, on bad government, and representation in government. Well, let's just jump over to our little chart over here that you guys might remember. Okay. And notice how I already highlighted those things for you here. So those type of governments that they want, okay, you want to pause it here and write this thing down, representation in government and then on bad government. It's honestly, guys, it's not a bad idea to write this whole chart down. There are other things in this chart that will help you on on the final exam, right? Divine right of kings, popular sovereignty, general will, natural rights, law and order, right? All of these things are, going to be on there in some way, shape, or form. So, just take a minute, put this down on your half sheet. Believe me, it'll be helpful in the long run. It doesn't take that long to do. Okay. Um, let's see here. I'm going to jump back over for a second here. So keep in mind those things there. Checks and balances and civil liberties. Okay, checks and balances, obviously, and separation of powers. You just need to know that essentially this is championed by Montesquieu, right? And civil liberties are associated with Rousseau, just like the market economy is associated with Adam Smith, and natural rights are associated with John Locke. And I didn't put it on there, but it is, you need to know, obviously, and I forgot to put that on there. So if you're watching this is going to be a benefit to you. I'm going to jump back to this here. But again, keep in mind, divine right of kings, law and order are associated with Hobbes. Okay. That natural rights is associated with Locke, but again, the general will is always associated with Rousseau. Right? We talk about that being a signal flare for him. All right. And if we go down here and we look here, forms of government, right? Types of government. Well, is that in the review sheet? Oh, it should have been, right? Oh, did I not put that on there? Oh, man, I didn't put that on there. So hopefully you guys watch this video and you see that, because guess what's also going to be on that final? Well, this right here, types of government. So on all these guys here, what their ideal form of government is, well, I did put it on there. It's right there. It's already highlighted there for you. Duh, stupid me, right? But don't forget, you also need to know Montesquieu and Voltaire too, right? Montesquieu is also a republic, and Voltaire is a limited or constitutional monarchy. So, that will definitely be on there. So, make sure you get those. Are easy 5 questions right there out of 50. The next thing on here are these 2 quotes. Okay, this first quote right here is Rousseau. Okay, and Rousseau is essentially talking about the general will. Hey, you might not agree upon these rules, but to be a part of this society, you have to say, put your personal beliefs beside and go, hey, this is the general will. This is the general will decided. If I'm going to be a part of it, I have to go along with it. So again, Rousseau, general will. Okay, and the second one here is John Locke. And what essentially he's talking about here is popular sovereignty. He's talking about government protecting your natural rights. He's saying, hey, you know what? Representation in government is about giving up your individual power, right? You're your own king. You're giving up that individual power to someone who's going to represent you in government, right? Because why in a state of nature, it's dangerous. Like he said, it's a lot like Hobbes, where in a state of nature, it's dangerous. However, Hobbes says we're dangerous because we're violent, where Locke just says, it is what it is, right? People are neither good nor bad. But it does happen. So to create that stability, you have to sort of have this consent to be governed, and that government should protect your natural rights. Okay. The last thing on here is the French Revolution and Napoleon. Look, no Napoleon questions. French estates, know the estates, right? The first, second, third estate, know the divisions within the third estate, specifically know the bourgeoisie, specifically know that the peasant farmers are the biggest, right? Bourgeoisie, wealthy, educated, middle class, right? Really middle class in quotes because they're as wealthy sometimes as the second estate of the nobles, but they don't have the same privileges, rights that the second and first estate do. And that's part of what the issues are. Remember that the third estate is paying all the taxes, right? And the first and second estate, while holding and owning 35% of all the land in France, pay zero taxes. Okay. Now it's time for the internal external factors. This is very much going, I think there's actually two questions on this, but one of them is an all the following except question. Okay. And then one of them is about external factors. Okay. So, first of all, what are the reasons behind the French Revolution? Okay. Well, first of all, political, ineffective government, social, right? Issues between the estates and those inequality, economic, deficit spending, and food shortages. Got that? Deficit spending, you're spending more money than you're bringing in, and food shortages. Not enough wheat means the price goes up, people get hungry, people start punching each other in the face, putting heads on pikes because they're hungry. Okay. And ideological. Okay, if you notice, those are our scopes. Ideological of the Enlightenment. People are influenced by the Enlightenment to create a better world. External factors, pretty simple, right? France spent a ton of money on the 7 Years' War, spent a ton of money on the American Revolution, and that greatly hurt their economy, which spun, more of that deficit spending. Okay, and there's more economic issues, but essentially, deficit spending is the big one. But I'm not going to go into more detail because that's all you really need to know. Finally, the radicals. Okay, we know that in a political spectrum, radicals mean that there aren't that many of them. There are few. What do the radicals want? Well, again, they want drastic change. They want a republic. They don't want a constitutional monarchy. They certainly don't want an absolute monarchy. They don't want a monarch at all. Okay, they want to abolish it. They want to create a system of true equality, of true liberty. Okay, and they came to power because of the constitutional monarchy was not able to fix any of the problems. There was still a lot of deficit spending. There were a lot of wars going on, a lot of social strife. There were a lot of issues. And as time went on, the populace in the cities helped the radicals gain more and more of a voice. Where eventually the radicals were able to overthrow that government, take charge, and then create this republic. Okay. And again, who supported them? The sans culottes, the people who were living in the cities, right? Why? They weren't landowners, right? Why? They weren't producing food. They were hungry. They were angry. They were overtaxed. They saw the injustice in the world, and they didn't have any faith at all in the monarchy. They wanted drastic, radical change. They wanted to be equal as the nobles were. Okay. Now, when the radicals take power, they change voting rights. And is it any shock that they extend voting rights to a lot more people, everyone, right? They extend the votes out to more people because they want to give a voice and give a vote to their urban population. Previous and after the radical phase, you had to be a land owning male to vote. So think about that from a power standpoint. Those who have power want to maintain or expand that power, right? So the radicals want to maintain that power, so they give a voice to the people who support them, right? So when you have these other phases where if you're living in a city, you can't vote because you don't own land, right? Well, then there's that whole sense of inequality and injustice again. Okay, so later on, even during the directory phase, they roll that back and they take away that right again, and they say, "Hey, you have to be a landowning male again." Right, so that again keeping them in power because the directory phase was all about the aristocracy and the wealthy bourgeoisie being in power. Okay, well, guys, if you look at that, there's nothing down here, so that brings us to our end. I hope you guys got something out of this. My tip to you is, just kind of go back and pause and, rewind a couple of the things that I said. Like I said, everything I said in this was really relevant, for the final. So hopefully you got some good nuggets that will help you on Thursday or Friday. Best of luck to y'all. I will see you guys on Thursday, Friday. Get to studying. Make sure you get all that late work turned into me. Message me when you get it in. And good luck. Okay. Bye.